In this video tutorial, we're going to look at replacing our banner text and banner area with a graphic that includes our own font. Well, not our own font, but a font that we want to embed into the image so that we can customize the font for our banner. So to begin with, I have located an image, and I'm going to hide Dreamweaver here for a moment so we can go back to our desktop. And I have located an image that I'm going to use for my banner, and I located this on Creative Commons. It is an image of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I'm going to right click on the image, and you can locate one from Creative Commons, which gives you various licenses for using images. Or of course you can create your own image for your banner. But make sure that you have an image chosen that you have at least a Creative Commons license for, or that you're able to use for your banner. And so I have this image of the Sydney Harbour Bridge here. Notice that this image is about 1900 pixels wide. And by the way, if you don't see the ruler at the top of Photoshop here, go to the view area and make sure that you view pull down menu in Photoshop and make sure that you have rulers selected so that you can see the size of your image. And if it's in inches, to switch to pixels, you simply double click inside the ruler area and you can switch from inches to pixels. So we've got pixels selected up the top here. I am going to select the area that I want from this image to use for my banner. So I'm just going to use this part of the image, and I am going to go to Image and Crop. So now I've got my the image area that I want to use, and then I'm going to go to Image and Image Size from the Image pull-down menu and choose Image Size. And now I'm going to resize my image so that it will fit the size of my banner area. And as you recall, our banner was set to 750 pixels. If your banner is a different size, then make sure that your image is set to that size. Notice we're going to leave resolution high here at 240. This is not such an issue as it used to be in terms of resolution. We'd prefer, if we're using simple graphics, to keep them to around 72 pixels per inch. However, in this case, we've got a graphic that we think is a high quality graphic, and certainly this enables it to be displayed on high resolution devices and still maintain nice clarity. So we're going to leave it at that. Click OK, and we want to click on the zoom tool over here to get this image back up to a reasonable size to work with. Go back up to the selection tool up here in Photoshop. And actually we're going to go down to the marquee tool here, and we're going to add a nice little feather edge to this. And the way we do that is we get the marquee tool, which is the second from the top, and we select the area that we want to use as the sort of border for our feather effect. And feathering, you'll see here in a minute what it looks like. And I'm going to release it, so I have this area selected, and then I'm going to go up to where it says Refine Edge at the very top of Photoshop here. I'm going to click on that and go down to the feather slider, and I'm going to go up here a little bit. I'm not going to get too carried away with it, but feather it to about maybe 10 pixels. 10 pixels is nice. I'm going to do a 10 feather pixel, And the other thing you have to do here is you have to output this to a new layer. So essentially we were creating a new layer with this feathered version of our image. We're going to choose new layer for the output and click OK. And so now we've got this image of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Opera House with a feathered edge that I can use as my background here for my banner area. But the other thing I wanted to do was to add a little bit of text to it. And to do that, I go to the text tool over here in the Photoshop toolbar, click on that. And then I'm going to choose a color that I want for my text. Now I can do that by going to the foreground color area here in Photoshop, click on that, and I get the eyedropper tool, and I can select any color from within my image. So maybe I'll choose this gold color here from the top of the north tower of the Harbour Bridge and click on that. And I'm going to use that. Maybe I'll get the darker, slightly darker. Yeah, the darker orange from that area and click OK. And then I'm going to choose a font, and I'm just going to choose, in this case, Brush Script Standard. Now this font would be unavailable in the Dreamweaver pull down list, but because I'm creating a graphic, I can choose any of these fonts that I want. So I'm going to choose Brush Script Standard. 18 point, we'll try 18 point here. We've got the color chosen, and I'm just going to click inside my image here. I can move where this text goes in a minute, but I'm going to type in David's Web World is what I'm going to call my site. Now if it's not lined up the way you want, just simply hold down the command key on your keyboard and move that around to where you want. Maybe I'll position it over here to the left a little bit. And I'm going to put it so it sort of goes a little bit above the feathered edge there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of an effect to the actual text. And if you look over in your layers area, the text layer that we've just added is simply called layer 1. If we click on that, notice it converts it to the actual text that we typed in. If we click on that layer. And then if I double click to the right of that text, over in this area, I get the layer style for the text. And I'm going to open that up, and I'm simply, well, I'm going to experiment a little bit, see how that looks. Maybe a stroke, maybe a little bit of inner shadow. That's a bit too much. I think I'm going to stick with this simple stroke around my text. And so I click OK. And so now I'm ready to export this for use in my banner. And the way we do this in Photoshop is we're going to go to File, the File pull-down menu, and there's a menu option called Save for Web. And we're going to choose that, Save for Web. And you'll notice in Save for Web we have the ability to look at optimized, the original image, the optimized image that we're working towards, 2-up where we see the original and the preview of the output image, or 4-up so we can look at a variety of different styles. I'm just going to leave it set to 2-up so I can see the original and see what I'm proposing to save. Now, briefly, we'll talk just quickly about these different file types that you can export as images for your web page. Essentially, we can use 4 types of images for our web page. We can use JPEGs, and the JPEG file type allows for a very, very powerful compression, and JPEGs allow you to create small file sizes that are usable across the web, and you can go up to thousands of colors with that file type. However, you can't make them transparent, and that file type is what we refer to as lossy. The other file type that we have available is GIF, graphics interchange format, GIF, GIF. And GIF file types are 256 colors, so that's the restriction. However, they can be transparent, and they create a very small file, and are useful for logos and those sorts of things on the web. A more a recent type of file type, well, recent, it's been around for a long time now, but has really become adopted highly in the last 10 to 15 years, is PNG, or portable network graphics. And those file types can be either PNG 8, meaning 8-bit, or 256 colors, or 224-bit, meaning that you can have quite literally millions of colors available to you. Now, portable network graphics allow you to save, as I say, a small file size, not always as compressed or small as JPEG or GIF. However, you have the ability to make them transparent, and they maintain a very high quality image. So I'm going to save my banner graphic here as PNG 8. And you can see here it looks pretty good. The output is good. Photoshop lets you see the size of the file. Notice my original is 475 kilobytes K, and my new version here is going to be 52K. Any image that you can save under 100K is going to make for very fast loading on your web page, and that's what you should strive for ultimately here, is files that load very, very quickly, particularly image files. So now we're ready to save. I click Save, and I'm going to save this as banner underscore BGD, banner background. PNG is the file type, and I'm going to save it inside my images folder. So here is once again, my root folder on the desktop. You remember we created an images folder, and I'm going to save banner BGD in there, and go ahead and save that. I already have an image in there. You probably won't the first time you have it, but I've already got one. I'm going to replace it with the one I've created. And so now I've got that in there ready to go to load that. But before I leave here, I'm going to do one additional thing. And that is create a small little graphic that I can use for the background of my web page. That's going to use a color from this as part of a gradient background image for my web page. And to do that, I am simply going to choose the color that I want for the background gradient for my web page. And I'm going to click once again on the color picker here in Photoshop, and I'm going to choose, I think, this part of the color from the sale of the opera house here, and maybe this lighter color. Yeah, this pale, it's almost a lemon color in the color picker, but it's part of the sale here. And I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to go to File, New in Photoshop and select that, and I'm going to create a new image file here, and I'm going to call it gradient underscore BGD, gradient background. Now I'm going to leave the preset custom, but the width I'm going to make 20 pixels, and the height I'm going to set to 500 pixels. The resolution 72, and the background contents I'm going to leave as white. And then I'm going to click OK. And this creates this simple little swatch that we have to add our gradient. And to add a gradient to this little strip, this little canvas that we have here, we're going to go over to the toolbar in Photoshop and choose the gradient tool. Now, if you don't see the gradient tool, it may be that it's showing the paint bucket tool. So you want to switch from paint bucket to gradient. Choose that, gradient. And then we're going to position our cursor underneath at the bottom of the swatch. Click and drag all the way up that swatch. So it gives us a very subtle, this lemon color up to a white gradient up here. And then we're going to go to File, once again, Save for Web. And this is fine. This is a 5 kilobyte file, a very small 5 kilobyte file. And I'm going to leave that as a PNG 8 file type. And click Save. And I'm going to save that into my images folder as gradient BGD and put that in there as well and click Save. So now I've got those two images in there. So I mentioned PNG, I mentioned JPEGs, I mentioned GIF. What was the fourth file type is a bitmap, a simple bitmap, and we won't be using that until the end of the class to add our little favicon. The last type of file type is a bitmap, and it can really is primarily used to create a favicon, or the little icon that you see at the top of the web browser when you go to a website that is like the company's logo, or in the case of this class, you'll have a small logo that you'll use for your web page. So now that we've created those two images and saved them into our images folder, in the next lesson we're going to go into Dreamweaver and we're going to load those into our page and add the graphics to make our page look a little bit more exciting.